Good morning, guys. Today, I'm starting the new course afresh, the Science and Technology course for UPSC. Okay, so UPSC Science and Technology complete course I'm starting. The objective of this course is like I have planned the classes, some 35 to 40 odd classes will be there. We will see, I have planned 36 classes. We will see if additional classes are required. I'll add them later, but right now I've decided 36 classes. In these 36 classes and through this course, UPSC Science and Technology course, I'm trying to give you almost all that is required uh, to comfortably answer science and technology questions in the prelims as well as in the mains. Remember, with respect to UPSC, it's not possible always to cover everything because the syllabus is so vast, first thing. Second thing is sometimes, or I would say, frequently UPSC keeps on asking questions from out of syllabus. You cannot. That's why you cannot define a syllabus, complete syllabus for UPSC examination. Because of that reason, I'm saying you can answer the question comfortably, means a reasonable number of questions. You can answer in both prelims and mains. Okay. In that way, I'm trying to plan this course. Okay. So there will be in total 36 lectures will be there. If more is required, I will add some 4 to 5 classes. Okay. And I tried to design this course with a lot of caution and but I would say with a lot of analysis. Have gone through the previous year's questions and the trend, how the UPSC is asking questions in both prelims and the mains, and I have taken the syllabus also. And based on all these things, I have designed the curriculum of this course. Okay. In this course, the core modules are going to be ICT, Information and Communication Technology, and the digital technologies. You can see these days the UPSC is asking more and more questions from this area. That's why I have allocated 5 classes for this. Then I'm going to focus on biotechnology. It has become kind of favorite subject for UPSC, and moreover, it's biotechnology is still evolving. Okay, you might have heard about the GMOs, genetically modified organisms, genetically, in that particularly genetically modified seeds, GM seeds. It is becoming very critical aspect. Lot of discussion is going on. That's why I'm going to emphasize on biotechnology also. Then space technology, this area is also very much favorite of UPSC. So I'm going to dedicate a reasonable amount of time and classes for space technology. Nuclear energy, of course, it is an old topic. It is not an emerging area, but still you have to study because we have, or the government of India has decided to go forward with the nuclear energy. It is building new nuclear reactors, and we have a 3-stage nuclear program also. We will study. That's why on the other side, the renewable energies are emerging. So there is a discussion whether to stop the nuclear energy or to continue with it. But the government of India has decided to go forward with it. So a lot of questions will be raised to understand that we have to study in detail nuclear energy and other energy sources of energy, both traditional and emerging sources of energy. That's why I'm going to dedicate approximately 7 classes to discuss energy. Okay. Then defense and the frontiers. Roughly, I'm going to allocate 7 classes. Okay. Then applications of science and technology, various applications of various technologies like quantum technology, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. Multiverse technology. About all these things, applications we are going to focus on. Okay. So in this way, I tried to make this course a comprehensive one. Okay, so that you can get enough understanding of the subject and then can comfortably go on to answer the questions. Okay, in both prelims and mains. Okay, all right. We'll move forward. First thing you have to understand is the dual nature of science and technology. Okay, so some basic foundations or stable foundations are there. Generally, we call them as scientific concepts or basic science. Okay, then there is dynamic developments, means application part is there. Okay, so when you apply, okay, something, some science, okay, you can call that as scientific application or a technological application. Okay, so there is basic science. Some examples if I have to take, like nuclear fission and fusion, DNA and the genetic structures, satellite orbits and the space physics, this is basic science. Then on the other side, the second part is rapidly evolving application of these basic concepts is there, like technological applications and deployments, government programs and policies, national regulatory frameworks, geopolitical and strategic significance. Okay, this part is also there. So on one side, pure basic science is there, scientific concepts are there. On the other side, rapidly changing applications and the dynamics with related to the technology are also there, and we have to cover these two things in our preparation. Okay, so if you have to take a cue as to how we have to get ready for this course, prepare this course is, okay, we have to have scientific foundation, then we have to understand the technological, we have to have the technological understanding, then we have to see the applications of the technology, then we have to understand the technology in the Indian context. Okay, then we have to see the current related developments with respect to the scientific development or technology, then we have to see whether any questions have been asked in such a technology in the previous years. So this is the chain you have to follow when you prepare for this subject. Okay, science and technology, right? We will move forward, right? So briefly, like, because this is an orientation session, it's like an orientation class, we will briefly see what is science and what is technology. Okay, then our life will become easy when we go to when we move to other classes. Okay, class 2 3 etc etc. So first we will understand what is science. Okay, so what is science, you know it very well. Okay, it is a systematic method of acquiring knowledge about the natural world through several means: by observation, by experimentation, by measurement, by evidence, and by logical reasoning. That is called as science. Okay, you can divide science into some major branches like physical sciences, life sciences, and earth sciences. Okay, so some of the subjects or streams that are there in physical science are physics, chemistry, astronomy, etc etc. Okay, this is something related to matter and cosmos, means universe. Okay, then the other stream subjects, other stream is the life sciences. The best examples are biology, genetics, microbiology, biotechnology, etc etc. So this is studying and understanding about the living systems. Okay, these are life sciences. Then we'll come to earth sciences. So it is to study and understand our environment, our ecology, our surroundings. So the examples are geology, meteorology, oceanography, environmental sciences, etc. Broadly, you can divide the streams in science into these categories. Okay, so if you have to take a quotation, you see, science seeks to understand and technology seeks to apply that understanding. That is how simply you can put both words, science and technology. Okay, all right. So what is technology? We will see. So the practical application of scientific knowledge, scientific techniques, and tools, that is called as technology. And why we have to apply this scientific knowledge? It is to solve the problems, achieve objectives, whatever objectives that we may have to achieve those objectives, and to continuously expand our understanding of the universe, we have to apply the scientific techniques. That is called as technology. Application of scientific knowledge is called as technology. Briefly, okay? Broadly, you can say like that. Okay. For example, I'm going to take few examples. First is, uh, if you have to see electromagnetic waves and the satellites, the scientific principle is electromagnetic waves can propagate freely through vacuum and space. This is a scientific principle. This is a basic science knowledge. And when we apply it, where we are applying the communication satellites that we are sending into the space, they orbit around the Earth to transmit signals across vast distances. They are transmitting information. This is how we are applying the science or knowledge of electromagnetic waves for our benefit, okay, through the communication satellites. Okay. Then if you see genetics and biotechnology, we have a basic scientific knowledge that DNA structures encode and carry genetic information. This is known to us. And how we are utilizing it? We are utilizing it in applications like DNA sequestering or sequencing and genetic engineering that are used for diagnosing the diseases and treating some diseases, that is called as gene therapy. Okay. Several other applications are there. We will study elaborately about all these applications in the coming future. So this is what is science and this is what is technology. Okay. I hope you have understood it. Right, right. We will move forward. Why science and technology is crucial for UPSC? You know very well. I will say science and technology has kind of become the third most important subject in our examination, especially in the prelims. After economics and polity, UPSC is trying to ask more and more questions from science and technology. Okay, you can see every year somewhere around 8 to 12, 13 questions are being asked from the subject of science and technology. Of course, in as part of mains in GS3, GS paper 3, science and technology, okay, reasonable number of questions are also being asked. Okay, one thing you have to remember it is science and technology subject is more important in prelims than in mains, because the number of questions, if you see, that are being asked in the prelims examination, out of total number of questions, it's more in its importance is more in prelims than in mains. But I'm not giving you a hint to neglect the subject in the mains. Of course, in mains and even in prelims, every mark is important in the entire process of examination. So I'm not asking you to neglect science and technology with respect to mains. You have to give equal importance, reasonable, required importance you have to give with respect to mains also. But relatively, I'm saying science and technology has become more important in prelims, because if you crack this subject happily, you can have some 20 to 25 marks in your pocket. Okay. And guessing the science and technology questions is relatively easy, comfortable, compared to the other subjects like history, especially the medieval history or modern history, geography. Okay. So you can take that advantage that science and technology subject gives to you in the prelims examination. Okay. Right. So, why science and technology is crucial for UPSC? So, science and technology is not just a secluded subject, it's not a narrow area, okay, of the syllabus. Of course, the science and technology spreads over to several other subjects that are very, very important for us from the point of view of examination. So, what are those is other areas where science and technology is overlapped with or lies directly or indirectly is agriculture. As part of agriculture, you will study biotechnology, GM crops, drones, satellite imagery, sensors, etc., etc. There, as part of agriculture, you are studying technology. Then in health and medicine, as part of human capital formation or human development, you will study concepts like vaccine, gene therapy, genome sequencing, etc. So, what is it? It is nothing but science and technology only. Then, in infrastructure, in economy and industry, you will study productivity, automation, semiconductors, telecommunication. Of course, it is also related to technology. Then in security, you will study defense systems like missiles, drones, AI driven systems, etc. So the in international relations, maybe when you study defense relations, uh, there also technology is coming. Then in resources, once again in GS paper 3 economics, in concepts like energy transition has become a buzzword. Already UPSC has asked questions on energy transition 2 to 3 times. So as part of that, solar and wind technology, battery technology, green hydrogen, fuel cells, nuclear energy, etc. Several concepts are there. Here you are studying along with the energy, subject of energy or concept of energy, you are also studying science and technology. And finally, as part of environment also, technology, you'll be studying technology in concepts such as climate monitoring, remote sensing, disaster prediction, pollution tracking, etc. etc. So science and technology subject, you cannot corner it to one area of the syllabus. Everywhere it is there. That is the significance of science and technology subject. Okay. Right. Moving forward, one more thing you have to remember is science and technology is not just current affairs. Should not believe that current science and technology means current affairs. Okay. So a common mistake in treating science and technology as a mere memory work is mistake. It's not just current affairs. It's not just mere memory work. Okay. Real preparation bridges a single news event to its deep underlying scientific concepts and a geopolitical strategy. Okay. So you have to elaborately, broadly, you have to prepare for the science and technology. You have to club the static aspects also, and you have to club the current related developments also. You should have a comprehensive understanding of the entire topic, bridging the static knowledge and the current developments. Okay. Right. So the weak approach will be rote memorization of few things in science and technology. It is not advised. It is the weak preparation strategy. On the other side, what UPSC requires, what UPSC preparation requires, it is active inquiry and conceptual depth is demanded by UPSC in with respect to science and technology. Of course, this applies to not just the science and the technology subject, but to other subjects also. Okay, right. So a well-prepared aspirant uses a single news to trigger to master the entire conceptual domain. So one example is the core physics. In core physics, what is a semiconductor? What is a transistor? Or an integrated circuits. This will be understood by the student, and the student will link it to manufacturing. How are chips fabricated? What is the photolithography, etc. He will link it to that also. He or she will link it to that also. Then the student will study what is the strategic and the geopolitical connection that chips have. Okay, why our supply chains are weaponized, especially these chips supply chains are weaponized by certain countries. Okay, you know very well our best friend China is weaponizing the supply of chips. Then Indian policy. In this way, the student who is taking his or her preparation in a right manner will do. The student will take a concept and try to see in these all different dimensions. Okay, that is what is the proper and correct preparation is. Okay, right. Moving forward, remember this class is like an introduction to the subject and it is the orientation class. So I'm not actually discussing the actual subject here. I'm just giving the overview of the subject, how your preparation should be, what is science and technology subject with respect to UPSC, etc. Okay, these things I am trying to discuss. They go into that much deep that they'll start behaving like a researcher. No, UPSC doesn't want you to become a researcher in other subjects like economics, etc., etc. People will go on digging, go on digging, go on digging. No. And with respect to science and technology, UPSC will not ask you to become a scientist. Okay, that in-depth knowledge is not required. Okay, what you require is proper understanding of the technology, its pros, its cons, and what impact it is going to have on the society, on the country, on the nation, and what are its applications. That is where the aspirant has to focus on. Okay, so the UPSC doesn't require you to have technical competence with respect to that technology or that aspect. Okay, no. So what the student is required is a functional core understanding of the technology or scientific concept is required for the student or aspirant. Okay, this is not required. Technical competency is not required by the aspirant with respect to some technology. Okay, what is required? What is required is functional core understanding of the subject. Okay, so this the aspirant has to keep in mind, and then the student will properly choose the sources from where the student is reading, and not going beyond two sources. Confine yourself to two sources only, maybe two books you will read. That's it, you keep on revising the books. Okay, right. Then the level of depth required is with that also the aspirant has to be careful, because nowadays you will see, you will venture outside, in front of every bookshop you will see hundreds of printed materials. Actually you don't know what you are reading actually. Okay, so because they have to publish and they have to claim that yes, the questions have come from our material, they are just increasing the volume of the printed material and they are throwing it on the students. The students are facing burden. Okay, they are unable to read this much material. Okay, so when you know how much you have to read, then you will choose your sources very carefully. Okay, so the just a surface identification of the technology or any concept, this applies to entire examination, all the subjects, that will become too little, it is not sufficient. Okay, it is that relying on generic news headlines and shallow definitions without conceptual backing, that is not sufficient. And something becomes very much too much, academics, when the student tries to they get this academic specialization, that will also become too much. Okay, so drowning in academic technicalities, mathematical proofs and postgraduate research frameworks, this becomes too much. This is also not required for the student. So what is the appropriate UPSC level? The appropriate UPSC level is, we maintain a structured conceptual baseline, understanding classical versus qubit computing. Taking an example. The example is quantum computing. Okay, we study in quantum computing. We'll go to what is the difference between classical and qubit computing, what is superposition, and what is entanglement. These are all concepts. Don't worry, don't get afraid. You will study all these things in quantum technology: bits, qubits, okay, superposition, entanglement. Okay, like that, some vocabulary or jargon is there, we will understand. Okay, when we study quantum computing, then we will study the potential limitations of quantum technology or quantum computing, and critical strategic programs like India's national quantum mission, etc. To here we have to take our preparation and limit our preparation. We should not confine to less than this, or we should not go beyond this also. Okay, right. We'll move forward. Then we will try and understand the subject from the prelims point of view. What is expected in prelims from the science and technology subject? Okay, so science and in prelims examination, the UPSC systematically evaluates the science and technology through diverse questioning styles. Okay, demanding both conceptual clarity and strategic elimination skills also. Okay, remember, elimination technique is very important, or elimination techniques become very important in prelims examination. Okay, so the core dimensions the prelims exam will be testing are things like conceptual knowledge, application of the technology, then current affairs. Okay, how much you have, you are keeping track with the day-to-day developments with respect to technology. Then it will focus on analytical aspects also, like what are the characteristics of the technology, then comparison with other technology, etc., etc. These are the areas that will be tested in the prelims examination. One thing is, The if you have the capacity or capability of strategically eliminating the incorrect answers, that will give you edge for you in the prelims examination. And I'm repeatedly saying it is easier to do the guesswork, eliminate the options in the science and the technology subjects. I'm saying it with my own experience. We will discuss at the appropriate time the elimination techniques also. It is easy in subjects like science and technology. Generally, when you don't know the answer, if applications are given as options, generally for a technology, you will mark them, all of them, as correct. Most of the time it works. It's difficult to do the guesswork in subjects like geography, modern Indian history. I'm saying, I'm sharing my own experience. It can be different from for some other teachers or people also. My experience, I'm saying, it's a better. It's a little bit easier to do the guesswork in subjects like science and technology, environment, economics, etc. Okay, so if you have the capability of doing educational guesses or strategically can eliminate the options, then you will have an edge compared to the rest of the aspirant. Okay, right. Then, so what you have to have with respect to prelims, if you have to crack the prelims examination, what you have to do with respect, what you have to have with the subject. You see, this applies not just to science and technology, but to other subjects also. So you should have overall, uh, you know, breadth of knowledge you have. You should know something about everything in science and technology. Then it becomes easier for you to clear the science and technology paper. One of my teachers, he said that, like, in prelim, for clearing the prelims examination, you should have uh, bird's eye view of everything, all this subject. Okay, so you should know something about everything. Then you will clear the prelims examination. Okay, so bird's eye view of everything. So prelims requires a breadth of knowledge. Okay, so it demands a reasonably broad awareness across vital scientific disciplines, but depth must be calibrated strategically. Little some breadth also, in-depth understanding also you should have. But when it comes to mains, we'll see that you have to choose particular areas, and in that you have to take your knowledge in depth. Okay, too deep, you have to take your knowledge. Okay, so broad technology domains, you should have understanding about all the things broadly, and calibrated depth also about each and every technology you should have. This is how it works in the prelims examination. Remember, it's not just for the prelims examination, but for other subjects. It's not just for the science and technology subject, but for other subjects also this works. Okay, right. Then we will see how main is the subject of science and how mains exam tests the subject of science and technology. So it goes beyond what is the technology, it goes beyond it. Okay, so you see, unlike the prelims where the exam tests a factual identification, whereas mains ask how technology intersects with critical societal and state frameworks, like how it is going to interact with the society and economy, governance and environment, national security, etc., etc. This is the area where questions will be framed from. Okay, then this is how the question. This is where the question will be asked from, where the subject or technology is intercepting with rest of the subjects like society, economy, environment, etc., etc. Okay, right. So this is the area you have to focus on. Right. So the foundational pillars when you prepare the science and the technology for with respect to mains, the things you have to focus on: introduction. In introduction, you have to define what is the technology. Okay, and you have to establish the relevance of the technology. Then you have to give its scientific principle, explain the technology briefly. Then applications, you write about the, or you should be aware of the applications, and you have to write about the applications. Then opportunities means further what we can get from the technology. Then when the keyword is like analyze, critically evaluate, etc., etc., then you have to give the Indian context also. You have to explain the challenges that are there with the technology, and you have to show a way forward also. Then you have to conclude the answer. So you should have a holistic and in-depth knowledge to answer a question on a particular technology in the mains examination. So this type of knowledge is tested in the mains examination with respect to science and the technology subject. Okay, right. Then very very important, like I told in the beginning also, you have to understand the technology from Indian perspective. If you are not preparing the technology from Indian angle or Indian perspective, maybe you are leaving half of your preparation with respect to the technology. Okay, so you see, a defining feature of our course will be moving beyond purely international perspectives to analyze where India stands across every critical technological frontier. Okay, so where India is standing, what are the implications with respect to India, everything we are going to study. Okay, so Indian angle also definitely must and should you have to study. Okay, all right. Then you have, if you have to prioritize the science and technology, means some important topics you have to pick and choose within the science and technology. Okay, so the most important priorities or important topics that you have to take are, okay, AI and machine learning, biotechnology, space technology, semiconductors, quantum computing, nuclear and cyber security, energy systems. These will become the most important topics that you have to study and prepare. Okay, I'm not saying only you have to read these things and leave out rest of the things. No, it's not like that, but you have to focus more on these topics. Okay, then priority level 2 also, some of the other topics are there, like blockchain ledger, internet of things, IoT and smart devices, drones and UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, GIS and remote sensing, advanced batteries, 3D printing, etc. Then third list is also there. Okay, third priority 3 is you have to focus on the functional aspect and the national policy context of these topics. Okay, so you have to understand the functional aspect of these topics, and you have to understand them with respect to Indian context. You have to understand. Okay, then priority 4, last priority is you have to, or we have to track these only if UPSC explicitly points to them or major current events, render them highly relevant for governance. Okay, these are the fourth priority areas. We should not, for these areas, we should not spend disproportionate time. We should allocate only that much time that is required. Okay, but for the things that I have mentioned in priority 1 and 2, you have to allocate the major amount of time for preparing these things. Okay, right. So these are the areas where you have to focus. Okay, so finally we will see why students fail to appropriately prepare for science and technology, or what are the mistakes that generally will be done by the students when they start preparing for, or where they fail in science and technology subject. Okay, what are the problems in their preparation. Okay, finally we will see this one. First thing is textbook overload. So students, they will choose multiple textbooks, 3 to 4. They will read one, throw it, take another one, read it, throw it, like that. Just they will keep on reading in the air, and they will keep that book aside. That strategy will not work. Okay, you have to minimum stick for one source, maximum two sources. You take only two sources, two books you take, and read them, underline important points. If you want to make notes also, you make notes. Then revise, first time revise, second time revise. At least you have to revise two times before the prelims examination. And come mains, once again you have to revise all the concepts with respect to mains. Then you have to do the answer writing practice. This is the proper way of preparing, not just for the science and technology subject, but for rest of the subjects also. Do not choose more than two sources. Very rarely in UPSC preparation you need more than two sources. Okay, nowadays the information is overloaded. Students are being burdened with the multiple number of sources. So it is your responsibility to protect yourself from this overload of information. Okay, confine yourself to minimum one source, maximum two sources. Read them repeatedly, revise first time, revise second time, revise third time also. Then start doing the previous year questions, PYQs. Then start doing the practice questions. That is how you will sharpen your preparation. That is how you will become ready for the examination, not by reading so many books. Okay, right. So first mistake the students or aspirants will do is they will overload them with the multiple textbooks. No. Second mistake is rote current affair learning. Okay, this is also we should not do. Okay, just the students will memorize the current affairs blindly. We should avoid it. Okay. Third one is over researching. This should also not done by the students. Okay, don't go too much into a concept or into one topic that is not required. Okay, confine yourself to the level that we have discussed previously. That is more than enough. Unless if you go beyond that, simply you will be wasting your valuable time. Okay, then another mistake the students will do is they ignore the Indian context in the technology. Okay, never do this mistake. And students will also most of the times ignore PYQs. You see, previous year's questions are like a torchlight in your hand to uh, to go through this path of UPSC. They are literally like torchlights. But most of the students they are doing practice questions given by various institutes. The PYQs they are neglecting. Okay, students are neglecting. Don't neglect the PYQs. Study, analyze, practice, use it for your analysis. The PYQs, okay, they are like a torchlight in your hand to cross this path of UPSC examination. Okay, the uniform priority. Okay, students also will do this mistake of teaching every technology or every topic equally. No, how much importance you have to give for each and every topic within the science and technology subject, you give that much only. Okay, maybe things like nuclear technology, nanotechnology, you may have to understand briefly, but things like artificial intelligence, cyber security, quantum computing, because these are emerging areas, you have to go into them in some more depth. That's how you have to prioritize your subjects and you have to do your preparation. Okay, so this is what you have to know in the first class with respect to science and technology subject. Okay, I hope I have given you enough and sufficient information in the orientation class, how this course is going to be, and where you have to focus, what you have to focus on, how your preparation shall be, etc., etc. And from the next class onwards, we will go into the actual subject, and we will begin with the basics or fundamentals of science and technology. Okay, I hope you have liked this lecture. I hope you have found it informative. And if you are willing to continue, one more class will also be free. That class also you watch it, and if you like the course, the content that is presented, the way the things are explained, etc., please subscribe to the course and take the course. And you know you also get something from the course, and in turn that will also help me. Okay, so in that way we can go on making more and more classes for your benefit also, and for my benefit also. Okay, so this is it for today. See you next time. Until then, you have a very good day. Okay, see you next time.